Uh, Good afternoon. Um, it is Sunday, August 27th. I think it's about maybe close to 12. It's 109. Okay, so I didn't get a chance to go to church today and be with my mother. And I thought I was gonna just end up just going to her house later today anyway. But I don't know. It's very rarely I have these days now where I can actually just be by myself and just process things. Um, I cherish those moments actually. You know, the handlers, they like to say, "Oh, Chris, you by yourself, you by yourself." But I'm like, some of the most prophetic people that ever walked this earth actually enjoyed and respected their time alone. Why? Because when you spend time alone, you have the time to dive into yourself and reflect. When you're not around a bunch of people or you're not around a person, you are solely with yourself. And then especially if you're not necessarily trying to like watch TV or listen to music, if you're just there and you're just in yourself and you're reflecting, you are actually learning. You're learning things about yourself. You are allowing yourself to review who you are. Now, with targeting, especially if you get, electronic harassment, synthetic telepathy, voice of God, um, weapon used on you, you, I mean, obviously you're not really alone, but you can, at least you can try to understand certain things. Like for example, um, the use of words. Words are a lot more powerful than the definitions that they are given. Words, including the sound produced when you say a word, you are basically giving off a sound frequency when you say a word like sadness. Saying sadness in itself, or depression, or anger, all these different things are powers, right? Because sounds carry energy or sound energy. They carry energy. So when you think about how if you get V2K and they use specific phrases or words and stuff like that, they are basically casting a sound energy spell on your consciousness and your subconscious. That's that oxidative stress right there. That's that. That's those gas bubbles. Oh man, I hope y'all I actually got a chance to read my last post about what happens to the brain when it's heated. If you read my last post about what happens to the brain that's heated, you'll understand what I've been talking about when I say I feel all this pressure up here and this pressure here, and then it feels like a gas is being released. Now the thing I realize is, look, now they're increasing the power of the frequency now, so it can inflict more damage. On the palm side of my hand is the frequency coming into my palm. It's coming into the palm, but it's definitely penetrating through it to get to whatever part of the brain that it's resonating with. Yeah, I also do have my Wi-Fi router on too. I have my Wi-Fi router on, and I have my Wi-Fi on the phone. Plus, the phone is on. So there's all kinds of. I'm not even really going to stress where all the energy and stuff is coming from because, well, there's those three factors, but also the phone has a good charge to it, and it's an iPhone, so I can't take the battery out the phone, which means it's a permanent remote weapon for just about anybody who has an iPhone. It's literally a weapon. The iPhone is a weapon, and we have been duped into the popularity of it. Most of these cell phones that are out now are probably made so that you no longer have to take the battery out. That was deliberate. That was definitely deliberate. Now, I'm pretty sure at some point someone who may get very interested in my story, who study audio, who who's an audio professional or whatever. The radio frequencies that they are communicating with, I've learned, I'm jumping around now. I've learned you can hear those radio frequencies, not necessarily through V2K, but you can also hear the physical vibration. And I live in New York City, so they're everywhere. I don't think there's a spot in this city where I can go where there's a dead zone of no frequencies. Unless someone has a signal jammer of a sort that can get down to the hertz level and basically block all frequency transmissions in that specific area. But other than that, there are times where someone probably has an electronic device or they're sitting in their car and I can hear the voices of the V2K handlers coming from that person's car. Or let's say if someone was, I don't know, I would think if someone probably had like their phone playing on speaker. Well, I actually, you know what? I'm gonna ignore that one. Because that one could be a little too much of a reach. But radios. A radio has an antenna. And it was YouTube view, and I'm sorry, I still haven't bought the radios yet for me to do the to try the experiment for which you told me about taking the two radio antennas and cross them, and then you'll be able to hear the frequencies coming in. Still haven't tried that yet, but I've definitely watched several of your videos, and it's on my list. But let me really get into what I really wanted to do this video about. Okay. I'm coming up on 3 years of my target, and there's been several things that I feel like God and my guardian angels have been leading me to understand. One, we definitely should not fear death. We should not fear death at all. If you are a decent human being, if you are a decent human being and you actually have remorse and conviction and love and generosity and peace and things of that sort, do not worry about death. You are already taken care of. If you are not in this world trying to disrupt the peace of someone else or try to destroy the life of someone else, don't worry about death. I'm telling you right now, as God is my witness and as the chills that are going through my body right now, do not worry about death. Do not worry about someone trying to kill you. Do not worry about someone threatening to hurt you. Do not worry about the things that most people fear, because you are already going to be taken care of. You in your lifespan is already accounted for. You don't know when you are going to die, and don't nobody on this planet know when you're going to die, because there are many times where someone is probably out to try to kill someone, and you know what? They miss. Or they probably get hit, but they don't die. There's a reason for these things. Because if you were meant to die, then you would have died. If you were meant to die, you would have died. So this is what I want people to realize. Do not let the spirit of fear confuse you or draw you away from the power for which it is already in you. Every single one of us is born with a piece of the Most High Creator already in us, and that is our spiritual energy. That is our light body. We are all made from the light that created all other lights and matter. We are made of everything that is in this in the solar system, or in the universe. That's what makes us creators from the beginning. You know, you create a thought in your mind, you put forth the action, or you put forth the energy towards that thought, then you put forth the action, then boom, you can manifest it into your present. We are creators. It's all right here. It's all right here. They have a carrier frequency going into the memory processing region of the brain. And then there's power there, or energy, being carried by that frequency. And it's basically heating up the tissue in the brain, which is releasing different, chemical or composition, or breaking down compositions rather, which is Intel releasing, everything from carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, some other things. When I do that, I've learned that thanks to the Microsoft Bing AI chatbot, it helped me solidify some things that I already knew, but just to see it actually right in black and white, what I already was understanding and figuring out just through straight intuition and just being aware. If I didn't do this, that would create intracranial pressure inside the skull. Because if the gas builds up inside the skull, then it compresses against the brain. If it compresses against the brain, or not just only compressing against the brain, it could compress against veins, arteries, and cause clumping or a stroke, right? Or blood clots, rather. And I think that's what they have been really intending to do, because they've been always saying, oh, Chris, you're not going to be here for long. Chris, you're not going to be here for long. Chris, you're not going to be here for long. Secret society don't want you knowing about technology. Don't nobody trust you no more. All these different things. And yet I continue to say, watch God work. I don't know how many days I have left on this planet. And I don't know if God is going to allow them to take my life or if I'm actually going to die of a natural death. But I do know this. I am at peace. I realize that as long as I don't do what they do, I am spiritually in tune with the Creator, and the Creator has been letting me know from time after time after time that I'm all right. Even though with the sins that I have committed or I may commit, I am not in the same field as them. And then and then this is what really wanted me to make this video. So I gotta break this down. Conditioning, social engineering, and coercion. Think about it like this. I live in New York City, right? A metropolitan, a city with about 8 to 9 million people, right? Probably, definitely, maybe 9 million plus, because now when it seems like everybody's moving to New York or being migrated to New York. You are constantly surrounded by other people and their energies. Everything from their thought energies, their voices, just their energies. You're always surrounded by people. And not only are you surrounded by people, you're also surrounded by electromagnetic radiation of various degrees from the numerous sensors that are around the city. All the LED lights, cameras, cell towers, whether it's a digital cell tower or it's a physical cell tower, cell phones. I think I said Wi-Fi routers. And let's not forget that whatever satellite that has its, sensors directed in the position, its sensors, aimed in the direction of this city. So you're constantly bathed in electromagnetic radiation. Now, in this city, you are bound to at some point probably come across someone that's either gonna ask you for money, try to take something from you, or just straight want to intimidate you just because maybe they felt like doing it. Most people, I would believe, in this city would fight back against anyone that tries to come against them or take something from them because, this is a tough city. This is a rough city with a lot of rough people in it. So there are many people who are conditioned and trained that you don't let nobody make a punk out of you, right? Okay. So someone walks up to me and they're like, give me this. I say, I'm not giving you nothing. So then they probably try to proceed with some type of physical threat and, whatever. And let's just say maybe that day I'm feeling a bit gumptuous. So, and I'm like, no, you're not going to take nothing from me. So then now I'm physically fighting them. That would be a normal response for just about anybody, especially if you grew up in the hood. You're not just going to, especially if it's one or two people, you may actually just fight back. Why? Because this person that approached you thinks that they're going to take whatever it is that you worked for away from you. That's a normal response from just about anybody. If it's one person and they probably don't have a gun, most likely you're going to fight them. Now, here's the difference when it comes to what's really happening, right? This technology, let's just say this straight out in the open. This technology was built off of the minds of people, not just in science or in, defense or intelligence. This technology was also developed by people who studied dark energy. And I mean the dark energy that most people, unless you believe in spirituality, dark energy usually correlates with some very dark energy beings that probably do not have any rest and they do not have any reprieve, but they're in this plane operating and moving about, and their main goal is to destroy or basically corrupt the souls of men and women. So, and there's a lot of people in this city that really put off the front, or they put off that persona that they're hard. Everyone's hard. Everyone is willing to throw down. Everyone is basically willing to take a life if they have to. Everyone is hard, right? You see how after I said what I just said, all of a sudden someone's conversation just got really loud out of nowhere. Now I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but I'm just saying the timing is uncanny. Now, anybody who's an audio engineer or whatever, you could probably take this video, make a copy of it, turn up the volume, and you could probably hear what was being said. Because that's not V2K. That's literally physical sound coming from someone. Now, everyone's hard, right? Everyone is trying to prove something to somebody. This technology literally hacks your nervous system. It can manipulate functions within your body. It can even control how you process thoughts. Or it could literally kill you, right? Now, I definitely grew up in a part of society where, you don't snitch or tell on anyone. You don't, talk about someone else's, dealings or whatever. If it don't concern you, you don't say nothing, But think about this, and I think about how many people are in this city. I wonder who was the first person or the first couple of people to actually be hacked and then transhumanized without their consent. Because think about this. Someone just used technology to hack you. Like, actually, you. In essence, they stole you. They stole you without your consent. They hacked you and stole you without your consent. And then they tell you, if you want to survive, you have to do what we tell you to do. I'm just thinking to myself, okay, how many of these hard people basically said yes? Whatever you want, I'll do whatever you say. Now, I'm also taking consideration that some of these people that were hacked were probably also given a totally different script, more along the lines like, probably, yo, don't freak out, but we're a part of a secret society and we're going to try to help you make some money or whatever, but you got to do stuff for us before we can help you. And then you say yes. Why? Because maybe you are in a destitute situation, or maybe you feel like you could use some more money, whatever the case may be. The more I think about it, I'm like, so you telling me all these people didn't have not one inkling in them that said something's wrong with this? So I'm going to say no. You're telling me all these people said yes, and not one person said no. I'm going to stick to no, something feels wrong with this. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to stick to it. You're telling me all these people said yes. I mean, most of the people that's being targeted, or who was probably targeted from jump, were probably people who were raised with a specific level of moral values, or a level of integrity, or hell, maybe they were bearers of truth, and they believe that no matter what happened, they just gonna tell you the truth, whether you like what you hear or not. They just gonna tell you. They just gonna be honest with you. And then even if you aren't someone who is outspoken and you always try to hold people accountable for themselves, if you think that way, they were going to target you. Because they knew at some point, if you think that way, you could also at some point in the future be compelled to want to act on your truthful and honest intentions, which would technically cause interference in someone else's lifestyle, even if their lifestyle is destructive to other people around them. So I keep thinking to myself, all these people said yes, not even realizing they just used technology rooted in like Luciferianism, evil spirit cultivations, and whatever. I don't even know what all the terms. I mean, it's basically paganism at the end of the day. It's technological paganism. It's the use of technology to cast spells or induce an influence over someone else. So you're telling me all these people said yes. All these people who would normally actually, if someone approached them with the same thing, but they had physically approached them, they would have fought them off and said no. They probably would have died fighting. Someone who don't want to give up their sneakers would have died fighting someone because they didn't want to give up their sneakers. But someone hacks your freaking body and your spiritual energy and you don't want to fight? What? I'm like, yo, this is mind blowing to me. I'm like, someone hacked you. They hacked your mind and your body and your spirit, and you don't want to fight back? I'm like, this makes me think everybody is on a this makes me actually believe nobody deserves to live nowhere. Nobody deserves to live no more. Someone hacks your spiritual energy and you don't want to fight back. You are consenting to the rise of what's most likely going to be the Antichrist or the rise of some evil forces that you probably never imagined was real, or you probably was too scared to think was real. You are giving rise to this thing and you are not fighting back at all. You're actually going along with them. This is mind-blowing to me because it makes me think so much differently about everybody who thinks they're hard. It's like everyone is willing to be physically violent when it needs to be, but when you need to fight a spiritual war, oh, nah. And then on top of that, they train them to think that if you tell someone about them hacking your spiritual energy, you're a snitch. What? What? Someone hacks you and then tell you, if you tell someone that they hacked you, you're going to be a snitch. And then now people are going to be uncomfortable around you, or people may want to physically act against you. Here's the thing. If someone is willing to physically act against you because you are telling people that someone hacked your spiritual energy, remember, you are already conditioned to fight against physical enemies because that's what you were raised on anyway. So if someone is going to use electronics to hack your spiritual energy and then they say, oh, we're going to threaten, we're going to kill you, or we're going to do this to you, blah, blah, blah. I'm just thinking to myself, bro, you are already conditioned to at least physically fight someone that poses a threat. The only thing you gotta do now is learn how to fight spiritually and electronically. Those are the only two things you gotta learn now, because you are already conditioned to want and will yourself to fight someone physically. Why won't you actually try to learn how to fight spiritually and electronically? That's the part that doesn't get me, because when I walk around the city and I'm doing my delivery, it blows my mind how many people, and I'm not going to use words to like degrade anyone. I'm just going to say, I can't believe so many people don't believe that their spirit is worth fighting for. I can't believe that this many people are going to end up, when they die, they're going to have to look at all those, probably their ancestors, angels, God, whatever. They're going to have to look at all these people and say, I was too afraid to fight back. You're literally sacrificing what? Maybe you're sacrificing eternal life just so you can live to be what? Up to about 80? Probably less than that, because this radiation that's basically going into your body, it's destroying your organic matter anyway. So this is the part that gets me. Someone hacks you and then tell you not to tell nobody that they hacked you. And you don't want to fight back. That's just heartbreaking. And it's sad. Because I'm like, yo, all my life I've been told, pick your battles or fight back when it's necessary. Here it is, probably the one fight that every person should be fighting, and it's not that many people willing to fight back. But everybody's hard out here. I mean, at this point, I'm already expecting at some point everybody who's watching this broadcast, and I'm not talking about YouTube broadcast. I'm talking about the secret broadcast through the radio frequencies and the sensors that's probably projecting my thoughts or my visual cortex into the cloud. So then, through whatever brain computer interface or brain cloud interface program that they're running through a server or whatever, they're all watching this. And I'm hoping that you internalize what I'm about to say next. I hope it really sticks with you, and I hope it burns. You will not have peace. You will not have peace. Everything that you do, you will never have satisfaction. Even when you think you having a good time, you're always going to feel like something is missing from you. You're always going to feel empty. You're always going to feel sad or angry. You're always going to feel like you're fighting off some negative feeling or whatever. I mean, if anything, most of them probably don't feel anything because the computer's modulating their emotional energy or whatever. So it's like they're basically on autopilot. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If death is to come for me, then I'm like, you know what? Give God glory all the way until the very last of my days. Just continue to give God glory, because you know what? There's no way I'm going to stand before God when I finally leave this earth and say, I was too afraid to fight for my spirit. There's no way I'm going to stand before my ancestors who died probably fighting the same cause or just, I'm not that far removed from slavery. My mom was born in the South in the 40s. That means my grandmother and grandfather weren't that far away. And then my great grandparents were probably slaves themselves. So it's like, I'm not that far removed. So it's like, I'm not gonna, when I leave this planet, and I'm getting chills when I think about it. When I leave this planet, I'm not gonna stand before them and say, I was too afraid to fight for my spirit. So I gave in because I didn't want to die. And I didn't want people that I know to suffer, or I didn't want to go through suffering. And I'm like, yo, at this point, nobody on this planet, nobody deserves to live. But you know what? This is God's test for humanity, because God allows all these things because, remember, the fallen angels came down and fornicated with man and created the giants, Nephilim. Then when they got killed, because they were half man and half angelic bodies or spiritual beings or holy beings, whatever. Their spirits could not go anywhere. So their evil spirits, their monstrous spirits, just basically dwell upon the earth, working amongst us, including along with the fallen ones who are probably still on this planet, manipulating and controlling things. I'm not going to stand before my ancestors and say, I was too afraid to fight for my spirit. I was too afraid to walk through the fire. I was too afraid to actually feel the burning arrows pierce through my skin. Burning arrows, basically like radio frequencies, you know what I mean. I'm not going to go out that way. No. I mean, we're all going to die one day anyway, but I'm not going to go out that way. I refuse. And anyone who decides that they do, all the power to you, but that's going to be for you to take up. At some point, you're gonna have to take up with that. And then people are probably like, oh, what are we supposed to do? We don't know how to fight back against something like. You learn. You learn. You learn. You learn. I'm learning. There are people who have been targeted for 20, 25 years. And you know what? that sentence right there. They lived through it for 20, 25 years. So they still was able to have a life. It might not have been the most comfortable life, but they still had a life. To them, they're like, oh, I'm not trying to go through that. I'm trying to have a comfortable life. I'm trying to, I'm trying to get this money. I'm trying to have a house, a family, all this stuff. I'm not trying to go through all that. Man. Sold your soul for riches that you can't even take with you when you die. Sold your soul for riches that you can't even take with you when you die. And then all the way through, as you're basically doing and following all these commands that they give you, you're literally chipping away at the very connection that you have with God. You're chipping away. You're chipping away at your own salvation. Fear not he who can kill the body, but only fear he who can kill the body and soul in hell. And they're chipping away. Every deed that you do and you get paid for it, you're chipping away. And you have no repentance, you have no guilt. You're just chipping away at your own salvation. People don't like to acknowledge that, oh, the spiritual world. The spiritual world. Demons, angels, God. I've heard the handler say several times, ooh, look, his soul is leaving his body. As they're basically modulating frequencies and they're attacking different energy points of my body. And then there's times where I'm trying to listen to these healing frequencies to try to, normalize myself or bring equilibrium back to my well-being or whatever. And it's like, they're literally acknowledging that I do have a soul. So the fact that I have a soul, that also means there is someone who created that soul. How do you not try to stand for the one who created you, but you would rather give yourself over to someone who's not even more powerful than the one that created you? And it's funny because, some of these people that gave into all this, they got the nerve to be walking around with Jesus pieces, crosses. They got tattoos with Jesus Christ on them. They got rosaries, and they got all that stuff. They probably go to church too. But yet they don't want to fight for their soul. You think these elites that help develop this technology actually plan to keep the population that they have that's a part of the secret society? You think they plan to keep the total number? What was those Georgia Guidestones? I think one of the sentences or one of the commandments on the Georgia Guidestones was the world's population must not be any more than 500,000. Was it 500,000 or 500 million? I think it was 500 million. 500 million. 500 million. I think it's 500 million. We're about 8.6 billion people. So you're telling me 500 million people are only going to really survive based on the Georgia Guidestones. And the Georgia Guidestones is like a secret society, 10 Commandment basically. So all these people thinking that they're going to be a part of that 500 million. 500 million. 500 million. New York City's population is about what? 8 to 9 million. What's China's population? What's India's population? So all these people who are giving themselves over to these handlers and doing all these things, I honestly don't think they realize that they're gonna get flipped on at some point. I honestly believe they don't believe it's gonna happen. And you know the worst part is, because everyone is linked up, that means whoever is the actual 500 million, they're stealing every detail about your life so then they can use it for themselves. So then when you die, they basically are just going to take everything about you and, I don't know, get some type of entertainment off of it. Oh, it's a weird world we live in, but it's nothing new. We're just gonna have to watch. We're just gonna have to see as this next catastrophic event happen to humanity, and watch several people getting wiped out. And you know, God is gonna have His select few people that He's gonna choose to still be able to live on, and hopefully even create offsprings that'll have that good DNA, that good moral fiber ingrained in them, and they'll be raised with certain values and stuff, you know, because God is always going to look out for His own. And even if God takes you and you know you've been doing everything that you could to be as, you know, good of a person as you possibly can in the world, always remember that if God calls you up early, that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Because then that means you have fulfilled your purpose in this world, and you no longer need to experience what's happening on this planet. Because remember, there's no pain and temptation in heaven. There's no guilt. There's none of that low vibrational energy in heaven. Yeah. Anyway, oh yeah, something else I realized. I took my cell phone. I took my cell phone and I had placed it in. I took my cell phone and I wonder what it would show. I wonder if you can see, because like on the right side, I don't know if it probably won't show a white spot, because like white is supposed to be the hottest. It probably won't show a white spot on the side of my head, but I'm wondering if it can see where energy is being concentrated at. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I took my cell phone and I had put it in the freezer for like 5 minutes or so, right? Then I took it out. I wanted it to cool down. I had turned it off. And I wanted it to cool down because I know that even if my phone is off, they're still using the phone or the radiation produced by the electromagnetic fields that let me see, did that make any difference? Is that a white spot at the top of that? Because if so, that's exactly where I feel. That's exactly where I feel a lot of the energy right at the top of my head. So you see, that's my face, right? But right at the top, if there's a white spot there, well, now they're trying to turn down the power because I feel the pressure reducing. But anyway, yeah, they always try to hide. Anytime you try to electronically record some type of interference, most of the time I realize, oh wait, let me finish. So I put my phone in the freezer for like 5 minutes while the battery, well, the phone was off. Then I put it down on the floor over here. And then I took my thermal camera and I scanned over. Well, first thing I did, once I put it on the floor, I took my hand and I waved my hand around the phone. Boom, I could feel the energy coming off of the phone. So what I did was I took the thermal camera and I basically scanned over the phone, and lo and behold, one specific spot was showing a great deal of heat, even though the rest of the phone was reading like, I want to say, what temperature was it? I think the rest of the phone was reading like 44 degrees or something like that. iPhone, remember this is an iPhone SE. The sensor where you put your thumb at, even though the rest of the phone was reading 44 degrees Fahrenheit, the sensor was reading 70. The thumb sensor was reading 70. And then along the bottom edge was reading in the 60s. And then at the top of the phone, you would see higher ratings like more close to like the 60 or whatever. But the rest of the phone was reading in the 40s. The phone is still off. Not only did it show that the temperature was reading in 70s, but you can also see that the whole circle of the thumb scanner was giving off red hot thermal readings. So yeah, iPhone or Apple definitely helped create these weapons. And even though they may not be weapons to everybody, they're weapons so that if someone needed to use your phone as a weapon, or if someone wanted to use your phone as a weapon against you, it has everything built into it to do just that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm still trying to contemplate because I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to go today because I'm like, I gotta work tomorrow. And then if I stay there too long, then I'm like, I gotta travel late. Because it would have been better if I would have went earlier and I actually went to church, but I couldn't go to church. I was dead tired. Whatever they would, I don't know why, but neighbors upstairs, I think they had like just got like their stereo, like, I don't know, sometime like last week or something like that. So, and there was all this dragging around of heavy stuff, and all of a sudden now they wanna play music after midnight. And then other than this morning, they didn't really stop they didn't stop playing music till about 4. But then they were still causing other loud noises up until about 5:30. I would have had to leave here at least by 8, just so I could get to church like at a decent time. Because my mother's church is all the way in Brooklyn and I live in the Bronx. Now I know secret society, they're all watching and they're like, oh, the streets is watching you. The streets is taking notes on everything about you. And I'm like, well, I haven't been hiding. I mean, I'm not hiding. I mean, I don't have anything to hide, especially since, well, you basically went into my mind, decoded every memory and every thought that I ever processed, including thoughts that weren't my own, and then broadcasted it so that people can take in all this information and now they know all the details about my life. In that sense, it's like, okay, so if you know everything, then what else do you want? Because I don't have anything that you want. I mean, I don't have material things. I have been transitioning myself to not care about material things since I was in my 20s. That's probably one of the first things that probably, like, you know, got the attention of secret society or whatever. It's like he's not really, following in the plans, or he's not really going along with the scripts of that everyone else is. Materialism, I don't really care much for it. I don't even really care to be shopping for brand new clothes when I start to get tears in my jeans and stuff. Like, I'll wait until that joint is like completely done and I can't wear it at all no more, and it's probably too expensive to actually go to a cleaners and let them stitch it up and all that. What they want is control of me, and I cannot allow that. I cannot allow someone to have control. I don't even like my mother trying to control me. So let alone I'm going to let somebody I don't even know hack my body without my consent and then say they're going to control and dictate my life because they deem that I'm not what's the word? I'm not I guess using my life right. Or the term that they often say is he's not moving properly. That's what Michael says. I call him Michael because I don't know his real name. Remember, I told you I got four people who's supposed to be handling me. 2 men, 2 women, all probably under the ages of like 30, 34. Probably, I don't think none of them's older than I am. And I think they always keep referring to somebody as, your supervisor is this, your super, and talking about I have a supervisor. So obviously they have somebody above me. Well, not above me, but above them. Or maybe it's a particular supervisor that, I don't know how this stuff works, but they always keep referring to somebody as a supervisor who doesn't want me doing this, or I supposedly got my supervisor in trouble, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But I'm going to continue to stand by my no. And I'm going to continue to ask God to keep feeding me. I'm going to continue to keep fighting in this war until God calls me forth. Because when that day comes, I want to be able to tell God that I tried my best to resist most, if not all, temptations, and I tried my best not to walk in the same path of everyone else that was destroying humanity and the earth collectively. And on that note, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.